Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a video for you, and today I've got a multi-tool that I want to take a look at. This is the Leatherman OHT, and I picked this up. I got a really good deal on it, and I've looked at this before. When I bought the Signal, I looked at this and didn't pick it up. So when I found it for a really good deal, I was like, hey, I'm gonna pull the trigger and check this one out. So I've been playing with this for a little while now, carrying it a bit most of the time. Now this is bigger and heavier than a lot of other multi-tools, but for me and for my purpose, I planned to and do carry it in a pack rather than on my person. So because it's in a pack, a few ounces is not as big a deal as when you're putting something in your pocket, okay? So that's the sort of background. How did I end up with this? The other thing is I thought it was cool because of the couple of different features. Number one, unlike most Leathermans, this slides out the front, which I think is pretty neat, and it also is spring loaded. Now essentially what that means is this can kind of almost, and certainly, you know, you can take this out with one hand, you can get the plier out, and then you can do whatever you've got to do, okay? With a typical multi-tool, here's my Signal, you know, are you going to be able to do this with one hand? Not really. You're going to use two hands, okay? So it was kind of it's kind of cool that they have a one-handed design. That's actually pretty slick. Other companies have done similar things. SOG has one that's like an OTF almost, like it actually snaps out and flicks open, and it's kind of neat as well. But for me, Leatherman is really the only multi-tools that I'm going to be very interested in. So let's get back to talking about this one. The other thing that I will say about it right off the hop is that it's a little heavy. And I think I kind of mentioned that I'm going to carry it in a pack. So for me, that's not as big of a deal. If you're looking for a multi-tool to carry on your person, this one's maybe not as good an option as some others. All right. Except if you specifically need something you can operate one-handed. That's where this really shines. So dimensions on this, since we already brought up the subject of weight, closed dimension is 4.5 inches. The width on this is 1 3/4 inches, and the thickness is 3/4 inch. So this is a pretty sizable multi-tool, okay? For comparison, you can see the Signal is closer to 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 inch. It's more like 1.5 inches thick instead of 1 3/4 inches. Now the length overall is the same, okay? Another comparison we could make is to the Gerber, and this Gerber, it's out the front as well. Let me try to demonstrate that for you. Now I will say this out the front is not nearly as smooth as this one, but it does work. And you can see that in the closed position, this multi-tool is quite a bit longer. This is basically a full 5 inches, but the other dimensions are kind of smaller. So this one's a little nicer to carry. And I say just a little because both of these are fairly big and fairly bulky when compared to a number of other multi-tools you could bring up. Okay, so I will say that's a full-size multi-tool, something like my Leatherman Skeletool. This is going to be quite a bit bigger. Let me just show you that before we go further with our discussion. There we go. So you can see that this is quite a bit bigger. The pliers are much bigger. So this qualifies definitely as a full-size multi-tool, where this is sort of a medium, not small, but medium, like the Juice, okay? So that's where this fits in, and those are a couple of comparisons. I won't tell you for sure which one I like better right now. I will do a video eventually comparing these two, but for now we're going to stick with talking about the OHT and get into some of the features that I like and some of the features that I don't like, okay, and some of the implications for that. So the first thing is this does slide out, okay? Now that's cool, and it allows for one-handed operation like we said a second ago, but keep in mind that it takes up more space, okay? So when you have this slide out option, okay, look how long, you've got some extra mechanics happening back here where my finger is now. So you actually have this much of this whole unit is made up of just the plier, and that's so that you can get a functional plier that also has the spring inside. Okay, now if you compare that to something like the Signal, see how much shorter. Here's the plier and that's it. So there's a lot of space saved by having this kind of fold over design. And that's why, of course, most multi-tools do that. This one, you lose some of that efficiency by having this slide out, okay? But you gain the one-handed operation, which, you know, I can understand the benefit to it. So that's sort of the trade-off we're making. And the other thing about that is overall, it's going to make the tool a little less efficient in terms of space. You need almost all of the space on the inside here to fit the plier, okay? Now, you can see, really, actually, I guess I should rephrase, you need all of the space. If you remember, hold on, let me open it up. See how there's this metal part down here? It comes down to here. And if you look inside, you can see the metal structure that makes up this whole assembly, and it actually goes almost to the bottom, right down to this pivot, which means you lose all the space on the inside of the tool, right? All in here is used up by just the pliers. So there's no room really for anything else on the inside of the tool. Now that means everything is going to be on the outside. Now, everything on the outside is not bad. In fact, that does make things very accessible, but you lose a little versatility. And I'll show you what I mean when we get into tools. Okay, so if you look at what tools are on here, I can pretty quickly open them all up. By the way, this is always going to be a fairly important consideration for anyone buying a multi-tool. What are the tools you in particular need, and does it have those tools? Okay, so on this, you have a belt cutter, you have a saw, you have a straight edge blade, and you have a serrated blade. The serrated blade is sort of a chisel, grind, I say, because it's only chisel ground on the secondary bevel. You've got a slot screwdriver, a small slot screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver. Then you have here a can opener and cap lifter. All right. By the way, there's also a small screwdriver on the end of the belt cutter. So those are all the tools that are on the handle. Then I will say this is a win. You do have a nice big set of pliers. It has this sort of secondary piece on the end where it doesn't get there all the way, but it tries to mimic a needle nose plier. We've got a fairly fine end. So now they're trying to be needle nose, regular pliers, and still have the cutting capability. Now, this is a win, especially for the price point of this multi-tool. You do have hardened steel wire cutters here and strippers, and they can be replaced, which is really, really nice, especially considering the price point. A lot of times you don't see that on anything close to this. This multi-tool, for example, from Gerber, it's not spring-loaded, I'm just letting it fall. It does not have replaceable cutters, even though it costs more than this by a decent amount, okay? So, those are all of the tools and features. So tools, I mean stuff you can actually do something with. Features, I mean, you know, it's out the front and it's spring loaded. All right, now what do I think of all of that? We've already commented on it's going to be less efficient, okay? Certainly it's a little heavier than something like the Signal, which weighs 7 point something ounces. This weighs 9.6 ounces, okay? What I want to point out about this is that you only have, now they are all, as I said, accessible from the outside, but you only have a few bits. And obviously Phillips and slot screwdriver are going to be the most common ones. But when this technology exists, if I can find it, there we go. No. There we go. There we go. When this technology exists, the bit exchanger, seems to me you should just put it on a multi-tool like this, okay? Just makes for a great deal of versatility. So now when I've got, you know, my bit exchanger here that can take a bunch of different bits, I can literally add see if I've got one here. Yeah, I do. I can literally add one of these Leatherman bit kits, slide this in my pocket or pouch or wherever I'm carrying my multi-tool, I'll put this with it. And now I've added all of these tools. Now I only carry one of these panels, comes with two, and what I've done is taken the bits that I use the most, put them into one, and I keep that with this multi-tool, okay? So that's one feature that is missing on this, and I think especially given the fact that you're already somewhat reduced in the number of tools that you have, it would have been nice to see something like a bit exchanger instead of just these bits, okay? The other thing that I question on this is the belt cutter, if I can get my hands on it. So here's the belt cutter. It is a blade. And the problem that I have with it is this. You have a belt cutter here. Now, I'll be honest, this has never happened to me. In fact, I've used the other two screwdrivers, but I've never used this one. So I can't speak to directly how big of a problem this is because I just haven't used this particular slot bit. But you have a screwdriver bit here, and then you have a blade right behind it. To me, that doesn't seem like a good idea, because if you're pushing on something like this and your hand slips, your finger's gonna go right into that blade. Now, it's not gonna be a super bad cut because you're limited to how much finger you can fit in there, but it could cut you to a stitch or two, okay? Which still is not ideal. So, the big complaints on this, guys, are it's a little bit limited in its tool set. It's a little bit heavy, although, as I said, I carry it in a pack, so I don't even notice how heavy it is. And there's that one minor complaint I had about tool placement, and as I say, I can't demonstrate for you that it's actually a problem. It's not like I cut myself or know of anyone who has. All right, so here's what I have to say about this. Oh, by the way, the last thing that we haven't touched on very much is price, and the price on these is very good, okay? I think these run around 89 bucks, which is really good for a full-size multi-tool, and I found them for $89 Canadian, which if you were paying US funds is a really good deal. That's, I don't know what it would be, probably $50 or $60 US. So maybe more like 60, I guess. So the price is very good, and you're getting a lot of features that you don't get in the more budget-friendly multi-tool. So I think this is a pretty good option if you're looking for a good quality tool for a reasonable price and you don't mind a little extra weight. All right, so there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's my take on the Leatherman OTF. You probably won't see a lot of this because my plan for this is to go into a pack that I'm putting together, and it'll just stay in there until I use that pack, okay? So there you go, Leatherman OTF, very nice multi-tool, especially, you know, for the price. It's a good quality full-size multi-tool that you're not breaking the bank to pick up. All right, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will talk to you soon.